navigating a recession, reconnecting with your clients, continuing to adapt your marketing efforts, adjusting your mindset during difficult times in your business? With popular demand, we have Erin MacNeil back on Beauty Behind the Brand podcast. Make sure to tune in with a pen and paper because you're going to need it. Let's dive into this episode and take some notes.
So we've got Erin here. She's going to tell us all about her story and how she ended up where she is today.
So thank you so much for chatting. I'm excited to chat with you again. So just a brief introduction is I am, from the very beginning of my career, an esthetician and laser technician. So did all the lights and lasers at the very beginning. And that was how I got started and worked my way through from that entry level position of doing manicures, pedicures, facials, massage, to laser hair removal, moving my way into management and training inside Medi spas, and then moved overseas, moved into luxury hospitality and a spa director role, which took me a little bit more globally. So helping to turn around failing spas or non-profitable spas as a director in several countries, specifically around in Asia. And I did that over the course of the last 15 years, is just starting out entry level, working my way kind of through the corporate ladder. And during the pandemic, I just decided that there was more meaningful work out there for me with the skill set that I have, because in our industry, a lot of what is built off of love and passion and not necessarily business skill sets. And so over the years, I've acquired a lot of business acumen in terms of financial analysis, financial planning, financials in spa, and felt like the pandemic was a time that I'm going to break away from the corporate world and start something a little bit more meaningful. And that's how I got here as the spa business coach, to help smaller businesses really learn and understand, take the passion that you have to open your business and get started as a service provider, but also help you shift from service provider that owns a business to CEO and confident woman who owns a business. So here we are.
And that's a great summary.
Yeah, because it's like a lot of people who get into our industry, a lot of females, I would say, they're like, I'm a esthetician who owns a business, or I'm an injector who owns a business. Not, I'm a businesswoman who happens to have a skill set that I'm able to do manis, pedis, facials, or skincare, or whatever. It's kind of opposite. So helping people understand their financials and walking them through how to run an operation helps them see themselves differently, see themselves as, okay, I am a business owner. I run this. I am a CEO. I'm a founder who also is a great esthetician, right?
That is so true. We kind of introduce ourselves the backwards way, because it's like, how would we be where we are without being that business owner? Is exactly. Right. And also when we are responsible for other individuals with paying them, we're supporting them financially as well with our business that we have grown and started.
It's really interesting because, yeah, it's like we start from a place of, I'm an esthetician, so I need a secondary esthetician, or I need a team, but they never really, like, it's really a difficult transition to go from esthetician to CEO. So part of what I do with my clients is also helping get them through that transition to see themselves through a different lens, through different decisions that they need to make inside their business. Because probably one of the things, and you probably know this, is I want everyone to like me. Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right.
I want everyone to like me. I don't want to upset status quo. I they just want to be liked and enjoy their job. And so, as you know, a lot comes with being a CEO and entrepreneur, and it's not just about delivering amazing treatments. It's really about running a business properly, hiring a great team, having strategies and planning in place.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's one of those things is, it's hard because as we started in service too, we are people pleasers, right? That's
100%.
That's every esthetician, hairdresser, anyone I know in this industry, lash tech, skin expert, anybody I know, that is our number one quality. And it is one of the things that also eats us alive at the same time, right?
100%. Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Because it's also the same thing for, I find as well, nurse injectors who initially started off as this person who really just wanted to help folks and wanted to, you know, have a good impact, but didn't really see themselves as someone of importance. It's like, I want to take care of everyone else first. And then,
absolutely.
And so you see it also in, you know, in aesthetics, you see it in the nursing side, even when it comes to financials, right? These are the folks that open a business and for years don't even bother to pay themselves because they just want to make sure everybody else is okay. And so again, making that transition into making smart business decisions as a CEO versus a service provider.
Absolutely. And it's hard to pivot that way because also you're used to making that individual income when you're doing that service too. So I think it's hard for people. I knew I struggled with that too when I stepped back from being in the treatment room. I definitely had a hard time being like, I don't have tip money anymore. I don't have the individual services that I was offering, knowing I was making X each day because I was in the treatment room. And especially, I mean, with the pandemic, obviously our industry was seriously affected by that. And I think it made us sit back because I remember speaking to you too, outside of podcasting and such, and chatting about numbers, what made sense with businesses. I was just messaging you the other day about different payment terminals, and there's so many things outside of the treatment room that also need to be done, right?
100, yeah, absolutely.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah, it's a full-time job. The thing also is that, you know, as you mentioned, when you see yourself more as the service provider or that person who's trying to just really make somebody else feel good, there's a huge burden that a lot of us feel in the industry of, I don't want to take for myself. And if I do, I may come across greedy. But in reality, what that is a volunteer, right? Anywhere else, you wouldn't just get up and go work at a spa that you didn't own and volunteer your time and not get paid. So it's really interesting, you know, when we talk about like pay structures, this is one of the things that a lot of people struggle with as well is, you know, how much should I pay myself? I don't want to be greedy. But the other thing, you know, when you look at how do you become successful and moving your mindset into, I deserve this, therefore you start attracting all of the things that align with, you know, allowing yourself to reap the reward of your hard work. Then you attract team members who are also of the same level. You attract clients who are happy to spend. Like, it's really this cause and effect that happens once you can shift. Yes. And you get out of that mindset of like, I don't deserve to, I do deserve.
100%.
It's an interesting one.
And it's like manifesting it. Like you said, you start bringing in that team, you start bringing in those clients, and it is such a mind shift. And I think too, even the services you're advertising, like those bigger ticket items, like we've really seen a pivot in that since we're bringing in more skincare, medi services as well. It's been very interesting on the new clientele that we've been bringing in, instead of just those manicure, pedicure, maybe occasional eyebrow wax client. It's really pivoted, and we've seen our cost and profits and everything change immediately within a couple months of doing those things. It's a very interesting thing. And that whole greediness, like the mentality where you're like, oh, if I buy a new bag, or if I buy a new car, or if I buy a new house, what do they think of me? Right? That whole, I don't think people who don't own businesses understand that.
Yes. And so my response is, because, you know, you've seen my posts, and sometimes I'm posting something that's like, you know, check out the results, right? Where one of my clients has messaged me to be like, oh my God, I just made like 15,000 in profit in a month, right?
Yeah.
Things like this. And then they're like, but don't share it. And I'm thinking, like, you know, my message back normally is like, do you think Walmart cares when they have to share quarterly earnings? Or do you think Tim Cook is holding back to say, oh, well, we don't want to share how well Apple's doing? It's like you need to get out there and share these things, because people aren't necessarily looking at you as greedy. They're looking at you as inspiration. Like, wow, if she can do it, I can do it. The folks who have a negative response, those aren't your people anyway.
That's such a good
You don't
mind.
need to worry.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is like, for, again, like going back to just kind of that, the place that we all come from when we move into aesthetics is that place of a bit like, I just want to help others so I feel good. That when you start succeeding, it feels very awkward to share how well you're doing. So a lot of people, they keep their cards close to their chest and they don't share. And I even find this, I have, several clients, and we have group conversations, and it's literally crickets. And I'm like, ladies, none of you are in a competing market, so you can forget that. So whatever you say it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Right. But the hesitation to share how successful they are, it's really interesting to see, and helping them get comfortable to share their success. Because the reality is, if you aren't comfortable to say that, like, wow, I earned, $1,000, the universe will not reward you with 10,000 or 10 million until you're able to say, I am proud of this. I feel good about it. I deserve it. I want other people to feel this way. You're going to be stuck.
Are you thinking about starting a podcast? I remember when we launched Beauty Behind the Brand, it was just an idea at first, and I didn't know where to start or what platform to use or how to streamline everything. Buzzsprout has made our lives so much easier, and I want to share some free info about it. Save $20 on your second invoice with Buzzsprout, and they will make your life so much easier. All you really need to do is upload, chat, and interview your guests, and Buzzsprout does the rest.
Absolutely.
You can't attract more if you aren't willing to accept what you already have.
And I also think too, is anything's possible. Like, that's what I think people don't realize, especially in the beauty industry. Like, I think of that with our brick and mortar or our product line, that kind of thing. When I talk to people, I'm like, oh yeah, we sell X amount of product per year to this one distributor, let's say. And they're like, what, really? Like, you do that outside the spa, vice versa, right? It's sometimes people don't realize that there's so many things within the beauty industry that is possible. And the amount of money, we're in $1 billion industry, right? Like, and it's just thriving. It's just growing.
I'm pretty sure. So I don't know if you follow this, but I think it's a little bit more geared toward like hospitality. But, when you look at the Global Wellness Forum, right? They put out stats, and just when you look at like wellness in general, and obviously beauty is part of that, it's a big part of that, but like the latest stat was, I think, was it $4 trillion a year?
Wow. Yeah.
And of course that includes wellness, travel, and those types of things. But this is the shift that people have made, right? Is that what we do, the business that we're in, is no longer truly seen as a luxury item. Right? There is a platform or a type of service for everyone at every different level. So whether you're at a lower ticket value, right? And you might be searching for something that, you can get for around $20, all the way through to $2,000 a ticket price and beyond.
Absolutely.
But the thing is, like, as you mentioned, the possibilities are endless. I mean, you could put your product on Amazon and watch it skyrocket. It just depends what you want, right? Or the audience that you're speaking to, or the way that you want to position your brand. But there are so many things that you can create that are extra revenue streams inside your business.
Now, with that being said too, about like, we're pretty much recession proof. That's what I say to a lot of people. When you do look at the past, like you look at alcohol, cigarettes, all those type of things, and you think of, and then like beauty and wellness, women during the wars were still going out and buying lipstick, like
100%.
Right. So pivoting our conversation a little bit that way, in the sense of like, we've gone through the pandemic and now we're going into obviously a recession of some sort. And what are kind of some of your what conversations you're having with your clients in order to, now that we can actually see it's coming, like the pandemic, it kind of just happened, where now we can kind of help ourselves to prep and get ready for this happening. And we're kind of already in it at the same time.
Yeah. So like, okay, so one thing to know about me is I think this, right? It's like, I don't actually follow mainstream media because, there's a certain direction that is kind of laid out for most folks. And I want to have a lot of organic thoughts. I want to operate off of what I can actually see and feel for myself. I don't want to have these ideas planted. and not to discount that, you know, there are things happening in our economy right now that really are forcing people to take a look at and evaluate spending, priorities with money and things like that. Absolutely, I don't deny that, but I think that that's always going to be there.
Yeah,
right?
and you're teaching your clients to do that anyways, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the thing with the recession, and it's really interesting because I think it was the late summer that the whispers were coming out like, oh, recession, recession, recession. And it's so interesting. And I really wish that I did some kind of case study, because I literally had 2 or 3 clients that were so gung-ho that like, we're going into a recession. We have to tighten up those purse strings, and we have to start thinking about potentially laying people off and whatever. Like, we're talking, this was in September of last year. And to give an example, one particular client on average in their business does around 110 to 150K a month in their spa. Okay. So I just want to set the stage for their mentality going into October and November, which, as you know, that's the end of Q3, beginning of Q4, huge high season, biggest quarter of the year for spas, right?
Yeah.
Is Q4.
Hands down.
Biggest quarter. And especially if you're doing any lights and laser, it's like lights and lasers coming back, all of these kind of things, right? Because summer's over. So the biggest quarter of the year, and this particular client didn't even crack 110K in October. And the story that this person was telling themselves for the last, call it 60 days leading up to October was, oh my God, the sky's falling, the sky's falling, the sky's falling. Well, guess what? The sky fell. It fell for her, right? So everything came crashing down. She didn't reach the numbers that she would typically do. She did better numbers the year before in the middle of a pandemic. And I say all of this because the clients that I had that were like not even paying attention to the recession, they were like, yes, laser's back. I'm doing a promo. You know, Black Friday's coming up, had a phenomenal fourth quarter. And it was so interesting because just one simple thing, which was what they gave their attention and focus and energy to, was so different. So one client you have that's like every single day, scarcity mindset, worried. Oh my God, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Scared. Everything seemed like the sky was falling, and any little piece of evidence she could find that proved her theory right, that we're in a recession, she was on top of it. It's like, oh, well, our regular client just canceled, so we're in a recession, right? Everything was, you know, it's that self-fulfilling prophecy, versus the clients that were like, yes, I'm going to do this promo, or I'm, you know, whatever it was, they decided they were doing something different and their sales skyrocketed. So when we look at recession, you also have to know, like, okay, there's the practical part of your business where hopefully you're already tracking and understanding your retention. Who are your top clients? How often do they come? What are your economic drivers? What are the things that you know really make your business go? And what is your break-even point? If you don't know these things, you're not prepared for a recession, right? So you really need to pay attention to a few of those KPIs. But if you know those things, sometimes going into a situation like this where potentially buying behaviors could shift, you want to lean back on some of those staple things inside of your business, like your long-standing clients, right? Your average check that you know you should be doing, right? So you have to kind of get into the mindset and talk yourself into, we're still operating as normal.
Yes.
You really shouldn't shift out of your energy of how you are currently, you know, behaving in your business, because then you start to, again, as you know, it's like if all you think about is negative things pop up. So 100%. Obviously there are some practical points that you need to be aware of, like what I mentioned, so that you understand, okay, well, here are the benchmarks that I want to hit or need to hit in order to make it through the month and or profit a little bit to stay afloat. So you need to know those things. But my number one suggestion, and like, I know I'm a bit older than a lot of the folks who probably follow you, is like, I go back to some of that old school stuff that I was in the spa industry way before there was social media, and there were millions of dollars being tossed around before social media. So sometimes during a recession where people are tightening the purse strings and they're really being, mindful and prioritizing spending, where if they're going to make a cut, you don't want your business to be the cut that they make. So what are you going to do? Well, you want to still create connections to that client. Stop relying solely on your social media. Start picking up the phone. Have those conversations. Write a personal email, not an email blast on MailChimp, right? Like, write a personal email to your top 25 clients, because I bet your top 25 clients, if they come to you in a particular month, will help you break even. And those are people that, because you reached out, and it's not even like you need to do a discount or an offer, which you could do, but just reaching out to say, hey, I know it's a difficult time. We want you to know we're here for you. We'd love to support you through it. And we're a place of solitude, a place of, rejuvenation. And we would love to welcome you. And, these kind of things, so that when they decide, where should I spend my money? They're like, you know what? Those people care about me. They want to spend their money with you because also you're top of mind. So you're doing your marketing a little bit differently. I go back old school. It's like, not necessarily knocking on doors, but you want to do phone calls, and you could do mail outs, or you could, write letters. You can do these kind of things and do like physical mail drops. Yes, it's a lot of work, but if your business is slow, you have the time.
Peaches, word of mouth marketing for Squarespace stores. Make more sales with Peaches Squarespace plugins. Get the #1 referral and affiliate software for your e-commerce store. Everyone wants to boost sales and reach new customers via affiliates or referrals marketing programs. Word of mouth marketing is the best and most powerful, low cost, and way to grow your business online organically. All you need to do is get the right software to help your customers talk about you, and influencers promote you and reward them for doing so. I will put my referral link down below.
Because if you're not doing anything with that time, you're probably sitting there creating excuses, or you're blaming the external world that your business is crumbling, right? So the #1 thing is obviously watching your mindset. When you feel yourself going down, it's like, I got to get out of this. Or I can sit in the suck for a minute and go, you know what, this is really sucky and I don't want to be here, but I'm not going to live here, right? Like, don't unpack your bags and live in the suck. Hang out there for a little bit and then move on and go, okay, I know this sucks, but if I could change it, what would I change? Okay, social media might not be working. What else can I do? Well, let's get creative, right? Let's pull some reports, see who you've seen in the last 3 months or who you haven't seen. Let's give those people a call. Let's send them a text. And if you see yourself coming up with excuses or reasons why you shouldn't, that's your old self telling you, stay small, you're going to fail, it's not worth it. You really have to make a conscious effort to shut out those conversations that come up, right? I mean, that's for another call. That's like another topic. But that stuff does come up where you're like, well, I don't want to bother people. Well, give them the right of refusal if they don't want to answer you. They're not, because a lot of people are so busy that the reminder that you still exist, like, hey, Nicole, haven't seen you in a month or two, would love to see you for your regular facial. Hope you're doing well. It's Erin from the spa, right? Like, that would brighten someone's day and go, oh, shoot, I've been meaning to book with you. People are really busy. They need the reminders. I know I do. So these kind of small things that I think really help to bridge the gap of connection when we're feeling disconnected. And this was something that came up a lot in the pandemic. Was people were just kind of giving up and they're like, oh my God, my business is ruined. But the thing is, you can either give into the excuses of like, well, nobody wants it. No one has money. And as you know, Nicole, the thing is, people are spending more money now than they ever have before. So the people saying like, oh, well, it's COVID, people aren't spending money. It's false. Based on
Absolutely.
what? Show me the numbers. The numbers show an increase everywhere. So it's not that people are not spending.
Yeah. And even during the pandemic, I thought too, because people weren't going on holidays, right? They had this money that they would be spending, let's say $5,000 on average, let's say, to go away on vacation. They were using that to come to the spa or to support small businesses, local businesses. And I think that is where it really pivoted and reaching out, like you said. It's like, don't worry, we're still here. Like, kind of like in our way, like, don't forget about us. But for them saying like, this is kind of the escape from reality, come into the spa 100%. And come pamper yourself too. Oh, well, now my dog wants to come in too.
The interesting part is also because going back to the beginning of the conversation, where especially estheticians or service providers in our industry, we don't feel comfortable saying, pick me, I'm the one. Come spend money at my business. We don't naturally feel comfortable, right? That's a conditioning and a skill set you need to learn, just like sales, right? So during these times where you actually need to be front and center, advocating for yourself, advocating for your business. Hey, look at me. Hey, look at us. Bridging that gap, keeping that connection. A lot of people didn't do it because they were too shy to put themselves out there. Well, I don't want them to feel like I'm being pushy. Let them judge if you're pushy. You got to do what you got to do to make sure that your business is out there and being seen and heard, and you get the exposure that you need to remind people that, as you mentioned, we're still here, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
When you make that extra effort, as you mentioned, like, okay, you've got someone, a family that's typically going on vacation, spending $5,000, $10,000 a year. They still have that money budgeted somewhere, and or they love the experience of going away or having something outside of the norm. So it's your responsibility to figure out, okay, how am I going to make it so that now if that person can't travel and or that person has some kind of restriction, what can I do that makes it more attractive to come spend that time and that money here?
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm saying as well with the recession. Now the buying behavior of people, they want the connection. They want to feel seen, acknowledged, recognized. So if you're running a business and you're not doing those things to keep your clients coming back, you're really going to suffer, because in a recession, if people are deciding, well, I'm going to go to the spa or I'm not going to go to spa, it will come down to the client experience. If they have always been taken care of, acknowledged, seen, understood, felt truly supported when they come into your space, you are not getting axed off that list of spending, right? They're going to be like,
will be in the budget.
Go, right? You will make the budget because they want that feeling. And yes, of course, you know, on the back end, yes, there's practical side of it. Yes, numbers, all of that. But you have to start with the experience first, because that's where people start cutting. It's like, well, I don't really need that. Not going to miss it, because there's no feeling connected to it, right? It's like why people don't clean out their closet. Like, but this jacket, I got it on my birthday and so gave it to me. It's got a story. It's got a feeling. And that's why they don't get rid of it. They never even wear it. So it's the same thing with, you know, when you're looking at, okay, how do I make myself quote unquote recession proof? Well, first of all, we're in a really good industry for that. But more importantly, you have to figure out, if you don't already know, who is your client and why would they cut you from their spending habit? And if you feel that like the experiences you've given them aren't worth the money to come in and pay, neither will they.
That's so true.
Right? So I think these kind of things that is like kind of going back to old school marketing, you want to bridge the gap, making sure that you stay connected, especially to your long-standing retained clients. That's super important. It might mean sending out emails. And again, you want to go back to the intention. My intention isn't to get a sale. My intention is so that you remember that we're here and we care about you. And even if you don't come to us during the recession or during this difficult time or whatever it might be, I'm going to be here waiting for you regardless. And people just want to know that. They want to know that somebody saw them and that they're there if they needed. And it makes it so much easier to say yes when you feel valued. So you're like, that's somewhere I want to spend my money.
And I also think a changing, like I've been reading a bunch of these different marketing books recently and talking about what makes you different in like what, yeah, there could be 10, I mean, in some areas, right, there's spas on every corner basically.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is going to drive your clients to you? What is making it like that client experience, like you're saying, but like upping it to that like extra level of customer service or rapport for them to know. Like I even remember during the pandemic, I knew, well, we're in a small community here, so everyone knows each other, but I knew some people that were living by themselves during the pandemic, and I made a point of calling them and checking in on how they were doing, not because I sincerely thought of them as our spa family, right? So
Yeah.
calling them to check in that they were okay, and if they needed groceries dropped off or anything like outside of like spa services. I say we're a full service spa basically, but basically trying to take care of them. And that, to be honest, they told their friends about that, and they're like, I remember Nicole called during the pandemic to check in if I needed anything, and then they told their friends who now come to me. I'm not buying their groceries, but coming into the spa to get services done. So it could be, like you said, something as simple as bringing it back to basic marketing. And we're overthinking sometimes the SEO, Google search, like all these things, and even taking care of our clients that we already have. Like thinking of those VIP clients. They're always trying to get more clients. Yeah.
Taking care of it, because, you know, also it's like, well, I'm not getting any new clients. It's like, okay, but what are you doing for the clients who have already invested tens of thousands of dollars with your business? Don't discount those people, right?
Absolutely.
Even when you think about when you're going to get a new phone plan, here's something that makes me so frustrated, right? Is you need to get a new phone plan. You've been a customer of that company for years. And what do? They give all the deals to the new people. It's like, where's your loyalty? Where's the loyalty? There isn't one, right? So if I feel that way as a consumer, whatever I'm putting out there for my customer must at some point have a similar sentiment in that kind of exchange. So again, going back to recession, well, what else can I do? Go to your client list. Don't worry about, I'm not getting new clients, because as long as you nurture the relationships and clients that you've built already, that should sustain your business. And again, if you haven't done that, you're going to suffer. You're going to suffer because maybe, you know, as you know, a lot of people, they don't necessarily focus on the right things when they're opening up a business. They're like sales, money, 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 which of course is important to a certain degree. But if you're not focused on the client, retaining the client experience, and what you can do for them, it's going to be an uphill battle for you. Because if you want your business to really withstand the test of time, you have to make sure that you have created such an amazing experience that eventually, after a certain amount of time being in business, your services, your clients, everything sells itself. You don't have to worry about having the best SEO or anything like that. Your services and your clients do the selling for you. You don't have to do it anymore. But if you're at a point where that's not the equation for your business, that you're still trying and struggling to get new clients and struggling to keep, take a look at your client experience. Absolutely. You're not paying enough attention to the people who are putting money into your business.
And word of mouth referrals. Like if they have a good experience, they're going to go tell their friends, like, right?
That, like I just had a massage with an RMT over the weekend. And as you know, I just came out of surgery and I was in so much pain, and I was just paired with this person. And I just thought, like, what an amazing experience. It was phenomenal, and I will be back. And I don't even know how much I paid for it. And it doesn't even matter. I'll pay it again. Because it was so good, and they took such good care of me, and they were so thoughtful. And every single touch point throughout that experience, because, you know, you fill in an intake form, they actually read it, and they knew that I was fresh out of surgery and I had certain pains and, you know, my mindset kind of going in. They paid attention to it. So I will go back. Can I go and get a massage somewhere for half the price? Absolutely. But will I now? No.
And that consultation with your clients, I feel like that's so overseen in a lot of, like, even as simple as a facial. Like it doesn't have to be like any deluxe facial by any means, just a basic facial. I feel like talking to your clients, I mean, people love talking about themselves, right? And then talking, what are you using at home? Like really go into deep knowledge with your client and that education segment, because they're going to remember that after. And taking the time, like we write like almost like a consult form after to say what products we would recommend, or like aftercare and things like that. And all our consultations are free when it comes to like skincare. It's 15 minutes, because it's educating your, it's what we're to do.
You have
it's our duty.
Introduce what you know, who you are, how you do things, so they get to decide, okay, I like this or I don't like this.
Absolutely.
And even for all of the new clients that might not even want the education. And of course, like we can't help ourselves because it's just what we do, right? But even just the very basics of in your initial consultation, if you're, again, onboarding a lot of new clients, sometimes that initial meeting is just planting seeds. And what that means is I'm just going to be present so I can watch your body language. I can see your energy. I can feel why you're actually here. So yes, I can read that you have a crappy skincare regime. We'll clean that up, right? But I'm also looking at you as a human sitting in front of me. And I'm going to see, are your shoulders slumped? Do you look tired? What are you carrying in your arms? Are you carrying, so I'm looking for all of these kind of windows in to position myself in a place with that new person to let them know I'm here for you. So they might not buy something right away. They come in for the service, but my job in that initial meet and greet or that initial treatment that I'm going to do for that client is I want you to feel completely taken care of. I don't care if you spend another penny with me, but that's actually what my intention is. And when your intention is that, they always come back. So as you mentioned, right? Like you start planting these seeds and you're talking about the things that you know will help them. But also sometimes if for those STs out there who are not as confident with selling product, air quotes, right? Selling product, it's pay attention to the person. Sometimes all they need is just an hour of relaxation. Sometimes all they need is someone to recognize how tired they are, or someone to, whatever it is, right? So sometimes it's like, we don't necessarily have to, and even with the SEO and stuff, sometimes we're like, we miss the point.
Yes.
It's like, let's go back to the foundational items of why the beauty industry is so large and why it is so successful. It's because we are there to help people feel good.
Absolutely.
So along the way, we're going to sell product. We're going to do all of that. And you're only going to do that, though, if in your initial meeting or your initial intention is truly to take care of that person. And that's when the reward will come back tenfold. They're going to tell all of their friends. They're going to come back and buy product. They're going to trust you because the initial interaction made them feel safe, seen, and understood. So they're going to come back.
I feel like that's such a great way to like end this podcast. It's just bliss. It's like how exactly. Right down to the basics. And I feel like that's we're overthinking everything. I mean, as business owners, we always, and I feel like with the outside noise of the world, like we were saying earlier, there's just so much noise. It's like, okay, what is our duty? Why did we get into this? What is our base level in the sense of why we do what we do as estheticians or lash techs or any beauty
get back to basics, right? And
absolutely.
I think, if you're in a space where you're feeling the crunch of, or it's maybe not the crunch just yet, but or you're really feeling the weight of there is a recession coming or we're in the thick of it, go back to those basics. Go back to why people come to your business. Go back to why you started your business and the services that you offer and what you want people to feel when they leave.
Absolutely.
Go back to those things because those are the things that are going to help your business survive tough times.
Amazing. Well, this was an awesome conversation as always, Erin, and I appreciate all your time and knowledge, and thank you so much. And we'll definitely have you on again as you were a popular demand.
Oh, thank you so much. It was amazing. And would love to be back.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Erin. Appreciate your time today.
You are very welcome. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.